Have you ever wondered why grief feels like a wound that never quite heals? It's a universal experience, a shared thread that binds us all as humans. Grief is something we encounter in many forms throughout our lives. It's like a shadow, always there, sometimes faint, sometimes overwhelming, but never completely gone. Let's take a moment to consider a story that many of us can relate to. It's about a person who found Father's Day to be a painful reminder of loss. The death of their father, and then the suicide of their children's father, cast a dark shadow over what was once a day of celebration. Each Father's Day became a trigger, a poignant reminder of their enduring grief. But grief isn't just about the loss of loved ones. It can also be about the loss of what was, what could have been, or what will never be. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, brought on a wave of collective grief as we mourned the loss of our normal lives, our sense of security, and for many, the loss of loved ones. Grief is not a linear process. It ebbs and flows, sometimes hitting us when we least expect it. It can be triggered by dates, events, or even memories, and it's something that we learn to live with, not something that ever truly goes away. So, how do we continue to live when the weight of grief feels unbearable? It's a daunting question, isn't it? But it's also an important one. The truth is, grief is a deeply personal experience, and each person navigates it in their own way. It's all about finding those coping mechanisms that work best for you. For some, it's learning to manage grief in the workplace, just as the Buddhist monks in California did when they held a candlelight vigil for the 1 million lives lost to COVID-19 and victims of shootings. The workplace can be a challenging environment to grieve in, but it's not impossible to find solace there. Rebecca Soffer, co-founder of the Modern Loss community, shared some strategies for coping, such as advocating for flexible work schedules and having a designated point person for communication. It's about creating an environment that acknowledges your grief, but also supports your healing. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, many of us found ourselves grieving in isolation, cut off from our usual support systems. It's a struggle that's all too familiar. But it's also a reminder of the importance of those support systems in our healing process. Even when we're apart, staying connected with our loved ones, whether it's through a phone call, a text message, or a video chat, can make a world of difference. Grief is a journey, one that's often unpredictable and always personal. It's a path strewn with challenges and difficulties that can seem insurmountable, but it's also a journey of healing and growth. It's about finding the strength to navigate the darkness and the courage to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the world is crumbling around you. Living with grief isn't about forgetting the pain or trying to bury it. It's about learning to carry it with you, to integrate it into your life in a way that allows you to keep living, to keep loving, and to keep growing. It's about finding that delicate balance between honoring your loss and embracing life. Living with grief is a journey, one that requires patience, understanding, and a lot of self-care. It's a journey that's unique to each of us, but it's also a journey that we don't have to walk alone. But what are some specific ways we can navigate this journey of grief? Grief, like a winding river, can take us through unexpected twists and turns. It's an individual journey, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve. What's important is finding coping mechanisms that resonate with us personally. A number of resources are available for those grappling with the weight of loss, as noted in a recent Time article about climate anxiety. These resources can be equally helpful in navigating personal grief. All We Can Save Circles, for instance, provide a platform for sharing and listening to others' experiences of loss, creating a sense of community in times of isolation. The Good Grief Network offers a 10-step program to help people build resilience and adapt to the ever-changing landscapes of their lives, while the Work That Reconnects facilitates workshops that enable participants to face and honor their pain for the world. Meditation, too, can be a beneficial coping mechanism. It encourages mindfulness and acceptance, allowing us to sit with our pain rather than fighting against it. It's not about eradicating the pain. Instead, it's about learning to live with it, to honor it, and to let it coexist with the other facets of our lives. Eco-Anxious Stories and the Gen Dread newsletter are other resources that provide a space for shared experiences and offer strategies for coping with feelings of despair and powerlessness. It's crucial to remember that while these coping mechanisms can be helpful, it's equally important to seek professional help if grief becomes overwhelming. Therapists, counselors, and support groups can provide the necessary tools and guidance to navigate the choppy waters of grief. Remember, It's okay to grieve, and it's okay to seek help. You're not alone in this journey.